Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're turning back to the long time debunked wage gap myth. Women, SJWs, and namely feminists have been pushing this nonsense for years now. We've certainly broke it down to death here on the show too, but since these lefty idiots continue to push out this anti-male propaganda, so too will we need to make fun of it and debunk it again. This time, it's from the YouTube channel Lean In, who released a video called hashtag 20% counts, equal pay day 2018. I could use a payday right now if you ask me. The candy bar. I'm a bit famished. Anyway, surprise, surprise, the comments are already disabled on this video, and the ratings are in the shitter too. Let's check it out and see why. Well, I think we got Lean In admitting to a crime here. It sounds to me like they're admitting they pay women 20% less here. What should our next plan of action be here, guys? And what's Lean In gonna do after admitting this? Are they just gonna produce more of these moronic videos? I feel like the women working at Lean In would prefer to just be paid fairly. And since it's a crime to pay people less based on gender or race, well, Lean In's got some splaining to do. But let's be real. In these situations, it's always the company saying, well, our company actually pays equally. And none of these SJWs can ever point at a company that genuinely does discriminate without taking into account things like competence level, qualifications and certifications, and actual hours worked. Because those are the real reasons women on average are paid 20% less than men. It's because they earn 20% less than men, because they're not as qualified, and they're not working as hard. This isn't a wage gap, it's an earnings gap. Women make less money because they work less hours, in less profitable jobs, because they're less qualified. End of story. Of course, Lean In would have you believe otherwise though. While they don't offer an actual explanation in their video, I think we all know what their implications are here. They're saying women earn less because of sexism, and blacks and Latinas get less because of that and racism. And this is just simply not true. If it was, we certainly see no proof of it. The only fact presented here is women on average are paid 20% less than men, which of course Lean In has worded and presented in a misleading way. This phrasing suggests that a female doctor would earn 20% less than a male one with equivalent credentials, and that's not true at all. This study doesn't compare similar jobs to each other. It's not comparing apples to apples. It's comparing apples to bananas or bananas to cucumbers. The study doesn't take into account a worker's experience or credentials either, or their hours and days worked. No, when they say women on average earn less, they're comparing all the women to all the men. And any sane, rational person who looks at that can easily surmise that, hey, women must not be working as much, or they're not working as lucrative jobs. And that's the real answer. But I guess it's too hard of a truth for feminists to face, so that's why they say everyone is sexist and racist, and then they make this stupid video about it. Then they call it a day.
Take one.
I've been a cement mason for 22 years this year.
I'm an architect. I used to build jet engines.
Have you ever thought about how much more money you would make if the pay gap didn't exist?
I try not to think about how much money I'm missing out on.
Funny how none of these girls worked on Wall Street, or as surgeons, or in the dangerous job of deep sea fishing. That's where I would work if I was concerned about making the most money possible. And as for all the money these chicks would have missed out on, well, here's the deal. They're not missing anything. If they wanted more money, they could have worked more days or tried to get more profitable jobs. They didn't. And as far as the jobs they did work, well, whatever they were paid is what they were worth. There's no secret missing 20% that got taken away from them for being female. If companies could pay all women less, then they would hire all women and save lots of money, but this isn't true, so they don't.
Can you just flip that card around?
So this is how much I did not get.
Yes, and that's because this is how much money you do not deserve. Whatever rate a person works for is what they're worth, plain and simple. And if they choose to work for a lower rate, then that's on them too. You can't accept a job at a certain pay rate and then retroactively be like, hey, men in the country earn more than women, so I did the math and this is the 20% I missed out on. That's not how this shit works at all. These Lean In people and other SJWs don't understand math, statistics, or economics. Not one bit. That or they're purposely lying and manipulating things to get this desired message. Either way, they're terrible. But let's go ahead and look at this another way for a minute. Instead of comparing men to women, let's compare two states in the USA. And since men and women have roughly the same numbers in America, I will also pick two states with similar populations. Let's take New York State and Florida, for example, which both have about 20 million people. So let's use them. And for today's statistic, let's compare their GDP per capita, which divides how much money a state makes by the number of people. It's basically an average of what a person could earn in that state for a year, essentially. And while Florida has a GDP per capita of 39,000, New York State's is at 64,000, almost double what Florida is. Now, if you're smart and you think about it, you could probably guess why New York makes more money. It having the international business hub of New York City, of course, being a big part of it. But if we were feminist SJWs or lean in, the explanation for this disparity would be much different. They don't use logic or reason at all. They would simply say this is because of sexism and racism. Florida is being oppressed and there's no other explanations to even be considered. And if that sounds completely absurd to you, then good, because it is. And this is how ridiculous the content of this lean in video really is. Oh, and I forgot about the next step, because the next thing lean in would say is, in my state to state comparison, Floridians should be making almost double of what they earned. Because I mean, hey, look at New York. They're making all this money, so why can't we get some of that, right? Pathetic vultures these kinds of people are. If you want more money, work more and better jobs. Don't just ask for it and be a beggar.
This is gonna be a house right here.
This would be like 2 houses, actually.
I wouldn't have my student loans anymore. Like, I might only have one roommate.
Like, maybe you shouldn't have shilled out 200 grand for that bullshit women's studies degree. Then you could have made more money. Wow, a green-haired feminist that thinks the wage gap is real. Color me shocked. What are you gonna say next? Dogs like bones? Water is wet? Come on, guys. But if we're being honest, I am glad they're showing this bedroom feminist here. And she even brought up her student loans, so let's go ahead and get into this. First of all, and this might sound harsh to some people, but smart people don't have student loans. They don't have loans or debt at all, actually. And they certainly don't have student loan debt, so bad that they need multiple roommates to survive. If this girl was really smart and deserving of a high-paying job, she would have been bright enough to get scholarships to pay for her education. Now, I know that's not an option for everyone, but at least the top 10% of students can get scholarships if they look hard enough. And then the next 10 or 20% of smart students can either work part-time or they go to cheaper colleges they can afford. And that brings us down to the middle 30 to 50% of students who are smart enough to go to college, but not smart enough to do it without collecting a world of debt. And that's where this green-haired feminist lies. Probably on the lower end, let's be honest. And this is also why she's not going to make as much money in the real world, because she's an idiot.
It would definitely go towards my son's education.
20% counts.
20% counts.
20% counts. It matters for women.
It matters for families.
It matters because it's the right thing to do.
Is it really the right thing to do though? And what are you suggesting we do here to begin with? This video is pretty damn vague, and that's because they want it to be misleading. First they bring up this non-problem, women earn less than men, then they offer no real explanation for it. Just the implication that there's a problem here and it's probably because of racism and sexism. Someone did something wrong to make women earn less, and we all know the SJWs most likely think companies and bosses are being sexist and racist when they hire and decide what to pay people. They're not, but that's what Lean In suggests. Now that we've gotten past that part though, what are they implying we do here as the next step? My only guess is they want to give women more money. They want to give women 20% more for doing the same thing as men. And that's the actual sexist thing here. They're wanting special treatment for women, and it's fucking disgusting. Here's the solution to this problem. If women want to make an equal amount to men overall, on average, what they need to do is work more hours at more profitable jobs. That's it. There's no magical sexist, racist problem we have to solve here. And as much as women love blaming their problems on everyone else, this isn't our deal, ladies. You're the ones who need to fix this by trying harder. It won't be easy, sure, but if you want more money, this is how you do it. Before we go though, I'd like to go over some other stats about the genders in the workforce. This will help to further explain this situation. First of all, men work about 13% more hours than women. So as I've said repeatedly, working more hours is a big part of it, but we should also consider the types of jobs people take. Men are 5 times more likely to take on a dangerous or less desirable position, such as a coal miner, sanitation worker, or power plant worker, etc. And yes, you guessed it, the more dangerous a job is, the more money that person gets paid. That's just common sense for anyone who understands business at all. Supply and demand, that kind of stuff. But hey, we all know SJWs know nothing about rational thinking or the economy. Men also tend to go for higher paying jobs, and on average are 9 times more likely to die at work than women are. 97% of job deaths are men. Wow. Also, and here's the kicker, childless women around the age of 20 earn 8% more than childless men. Why aren't we talking about that pay gap? So with all that said, the way I see it, the women actually have it better here in a lot of ways. Sure, their average overall earnings are 20% less, but they also make up only 3% of workplace deaths. And they also greatly prefer and dominate the easier, less labor-intensive job fields, like teachers and nurses, as opposed to the harder, more dangerous jobs like bridge building, ditch digging, and the military. So really, overall, women are not only safer at work, they're also working easier jobs and less hours. This should be win-win-win for them, but for SJWs, it's never enough. They always want more, so having safer and easier jobs jobs isn't enough. They also want to get the same amount of money as men for doing less. It's completely absurd and counterintuitive, but that's where we are here today. In the end, the wage gap is really an earnings gap, and I really can't believe we're still talking about it in current year. The feminists are either getting really desperate or they actually are that stupid. They're stupid enough to not only believe in the pay gap myth, but they also still believe in it even after it's been debunked year after year. This is the kind of behavior that makes SJWs look like they're in a cult. They believe in stuff because they want to believe. Their narratives are based on faith, not on facts. And that's why, like many cults and wacko religions over the years, the social justice warriors' days are numbered. What do you guys think? Can you believe this wage gap video is coming out in April 2018, current year? And what do you think about the disparity in earnings between men and women? Is it because men work more at harder jobs, or is it because everyone is sexist and racist? Comment your thoughts and everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.